Mike here, Money, Marriage, and Media, and we're back with another video. Today, we've got a debut from It's Complicated. Now, this brother asked some great questions. He's doing street interviews out on the Vegas Strip, I assume. You see a lot of hotels and stuff in the background. So, yeah, if you're walking around Vegas, you see that guy with that blue microphone, go check him out. He may ask you some thought-provoking stuff that may reveal some things about yourself that you just weren't aware of. But again, the whole point is high-level conversations. We've got to start having conversations where we peel back the layers, right? Why? Because the gender war is what? Dumb, right? We can't keep having You can't keep having these arguments where we go back and forth and keep butting heads. We need each other, men and women. We are supposed to be working together to make things better, right? But how do we do that if we're constantly just arguing about the basic stuff and we never peel back the layer to find out what's really going on? So that brings us here to It's Complicated. I haven't watched this whole video yet. I started it, but then I thought, okay, well, I haven't seen this yet. Let's go ahead and get a reaction, get my initial thoughts on it, right? So let's go ahead and get it going. See where we're at.
Without fathers. So how could you know how to be a woman to a man if you didn't have a dad?
Well, right, but a lot of men were raised without fathers, so how could a man know how to be a leader and a provider to a woman if he didn't have a man teaching him that masculine role?
I guess that's just something we all got to figure out together.
And why are men expected to...
You know, I respect her answer because she said the fact that we have to figure it out together. A lot of times what will happen is that one of the reasons why I think the divorce rate is so high is because we're not taking the time to evolve how a marriage is supposed to work. A lot of times we're still stuck in the old model of marriage, and when things aren't working out the way we want them to, then we're just saying we're just walking away. I think the solution to that is that we've got to start figuring out what works for us, whoever's in that relationship. You're gonna have to define the roles because they're not necessarily. It's pretty obvious that women don't want to be traditional. Women today don't want to be traditional anymore. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, well then, traditional men usually go with traditional women. So if you're a modern woman, then you might need to start working with a modern man. You guys need to define how you want that marriage to work. But enough on that. We're getting off topic because I don't think we're going to start talking about marriage here. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But let's find out.
to have a healthy perception of themselves, aka confidence, while people continue to blame men for women's inflated ego?
It falls under the social norm, I believe. Like I said, it's just my personal opinion. We're meant to hold that certain status. We're meant to be strong, be a guy.
We have to have confidence as men. We're the king of the jungle, man. We're the most dangerous species on this earth. If we wasn't, it wouldn't look like this, So as a man, we have to have absolute confidence in ourselves.
I think it really starts at the gym with other guys. We compete with each other, so we have to always appear strong. But yeah, you're right. We always seem to always.
Doesn't it seem like your search engine has its own agenda, replacing the results you're looking for with the ones they prefer?
Ads. Need to get rid of the ads.
Put a little weakness when it comes down to the woman. We'll be strong for other dudes, but girls, we always try to, I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, why are men expected to have a healthy perception of themselves, but we don't hold women to a standard of having a healthy perception of them? In other words, we expect men to have confidence, but we don't expect women to be humble.
That question is confusing. And this brother is definitely confused because his answer didn't really talk about the question. And I don't think that's confusing me. So I will move on from that one. I'm gonna skip that one. Let's just, yeah.
I think, okay, so this is a good question. I think it's because it comes down to the ego. Women do not have as much ego, so they're not required for all of that, to be humble, to be all these different things.
Women don't have an ego. How many times have you heard on YouTube, on the internet, or rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? When was the last time you heard a woman say, I'm a 4, or I'm a 5, I'm average? Yeah, that doesn't happen. I'm not a fan of the rating scales, by the way, especially when you stick a camera in women's face, just because that's part of media training there. Is like you never want to rate yourself in front of other people. You never want to make yourself look bad. So that's a hard question to answer. But the fact that you're not willing to make yourself look bad on camera or not being to be honest about yourself says the fact that, yeah, okay.
We only really require them. We as men require them to just look good and just come along for the most part.
Why do women often attack a man's masculinity when they don't get what they want?
Oh, that's a good.
Okay, so the reason behind that is because of the physical difference between men and women. A lot of women know that they can't they can't hurt you physically. So not without a weapon or something like that, but then that's a whole different story. But so the next best thing is, okay, well, I can try and hurt him mentally. It's just a tactic that women use. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's just the way they think. I mean, I can't hurt him physically, so what's another way where I can get even with him?
Question. Why do I attack masculinity?
Because women run the world.
Masculinity, as in,
like you don't lift enough. Like you're not manly enough. You're not a man.
I didn't know they did that. Personally, I like a feminine man.
But I think if a woman goes for that, it's just because throughout history, that's like the biggest defining factor of like what a man is like they're a manly man.
The easiest hit.
Yes.
Isn't that hitting below the belt?
Hitting below the belt? What do you mean
To
by
attack,
that? Sorry.
attack someone's masculinity.
Yeah.
Is it any wonder why men's mental health is in crisis?
Absolutely, yes, because women believe that just because they throw on some makeup and look pretty, that they can get any man, and this is really taking advantage of the man. And because you might not be a good-looking guy.
What does it have to do with men's mental health? Maybe he's gonna land the plane on this one. That seems kind of out there.
That you might not have all this money, you might not have all this stuff, then that's putting you in a status where you basically get ignored by a lot of women, which is a terrible thing for a lot of men today.
It is often said life isn't fair. Who is more likely to be expected to accept injustice, men or women?
I've heard him ask this question before. I'm almost certain she's gonna say women, and then the follow-up question is gonna be like, okay, well, let's see what happens, because I could be wrong.
Women.
If it's not men, why do we have the expression "take it like a man"?
Yeah.
You're good. Because men are supposed to have this strong front, so.
Does a man have the right to define what a woman is?
Absolutely not.
So then what gives women the right to define what a man is?
We don't.
But didn't you?
She just did. Again, high-level conversation. The whole point is to peel back the layer so you can hopefully learn something there and find out what's really going on. Because she's about to have that moment for herself. Because just like when she said, oh, you're good. Yeah, because she realized that, oh, you know what? Even though I think that initially, that doesn't really make sense. Yeah, that's the whole point.
You just say a man's supposed to be this and a man's
I said
supposed to be that?
supposed to, yeah.
Is that not defining what a man is?
Well, somewhat, but not just clear like that.
Again, I'm not going to make myself look bad on camera, even though I look bad on camera for saying that. But again, sometimes, it's an unfortunate side effect of having high-level conversations is you have to be open to the option that you could be wrong. I pride myself on saying that. I learned that from Wise Man or somebody else watching on YouTube. But you have to be open to the possibility that the way you think about things could be wrong. It's a very humbling experience. But let's go.
If it's not men, why do we have the expression "take it like a man"?
Well, I never heard "take it like a woman."
So then, wouldn't the answer be men?
It would be men.
We talk about things. A lot of times men don't. They don't like to tell us their problems. They don't. They shut down easily. Most women, they'll talk about things and issues, but a lot of.
Okay, so this is actually a common thread that women often talk about, and like during the 90s and early 2000s, this was a big issue on women's platform. It's we want men to open up. This is where that whole "we want a man who is more sensitive" came from, right? But the reality is that, ladies, I want you to hear me. Most men in a relationship are open to the idea of sharing our thoughts and the way we feel with our women. The issue comes in is that most times when guys do that, it gets ignored. Or it gets, oh, you know what? We start seeing shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. You better man up then, or what you want me to do about that? See, stuff like that will tell the man, okay, well, she don't really care. I don't need to bring this up again because there's no point. And those usually we'll try that with smaller things, right? And then all of a sudden, okay, well, and our thinking is if she gonna act this way with the small stuff, I'm not going to risk the pain, the hurt and pain that comes with a bigger issue. Because if this is small, okay, I might be able to figure this out for myself. But in the good faith of I'm with someone now, this is my spouse. Let me try and share it. Maybe we can come up with something together. But if you shame him or throw insults or lay him with a guilt trip, that guy's done with it. He's not going to open up again because again, you just put him in a bad space emotionally. In order to avoid that, he's just going to say, okay, I'm going to work out my own issues myself. This is a big waste of time. So if you want to avoid that, then you cannot, I repeat, you cannot make light of if a guy is bringing you his issues. And again, he may not need you to solve them. He may just need you to hear him out, right? We always hear the other side of this conversation, though, because when women bring their issues to the men, a lot of times we get jumped on because, well, I just solved the issue. What's the problem here? Well, the women will come back. Well, I didn't need you to solve it. I just needed you to listen to me. A lot of times men are on that aspect too. The only difference is that if a woman is not willing to offer some kind of either a listening ear or offer help with the guy figuring out the solution, we're just not going to do it anymore. We know that, okay, I don't need to talk to you anymore because you're not providing me any level of help. I'm just going to move on.
A lot of times men are silent, so they kind of withhold.
But do you think that men often withhold their feelings because when they express their feelings, it's often shamed and made fun of?
No. I think from growing up, they always
say, well, just let's follow the logic here. He's a guy, and he's telling you why men do this. And her response is, no, it's not that. What?
Well, men, you're not supposed to cry. Take it like a man. So they have to build this persona.
Is it any wonder why men's mental health is in crisis?
Yes, because soon as a man opens up to a woman and tells them like their deepest, darkest secrets, women tend to use that against men. And I don't know why. I'm a woman and I don't know why.
Facts. And it's usually, again, she can't fight you physically. So what's the next best thing? Okay, well, I'm gonna attack his mental. Especially because women are more socially calibrated than men are. So they're better at communication for the most part. There's always an exception in there. But women will use their strengths to make their point. Just like men do. It's the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we have to start recognizing that between the two genders, we each have our strengths and weaknesses.
What is the difference between sexism and
more ads? Yay!
Racism.
Sexism and racism. There is no difference. The one is discrimination of color and one is discrimination of sex.
What's the difference between telling a black man you're not black enough and telling a man you're not man enough?
Oh, that's a good one. Telling a black man he's not black enough can be...
I'm going to shout out to another channel, We Need to Talk, because really what's going on here is that you're just, only thing you're doing is picking what the most important part of you is. Do you consider yourself a black man or a man who's black? It's a great conversation piece. It's complicated. He's coming at it from a different angle, though. But it's a great conversation, though.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's the same thing. I've been told that my whole life. I've been in the hood, I've been in the suburbs. In the suburbs, they said you're white. In the hood, they say you're black. Or other way around, actually, I'm sorry. you're not white enough, you're not black enough.
And black enough, as you can see, I make racism look stupid. I'm two different colors. So to me, it's just to me, that's a funny question, literally. Like, it makes me laugh because how can you ask someone who's lighter than a white guy about someone who's black, you know? It's just an interesting concept. But like I said, I think that just it goes back to the racism being a system and how people are used to or falling victim to that system.
In my book, that's equal, man.
So why is it okay for women to be sexist but not racist?
Oh, whoa. High level conversation. That is a great question. Whoa. How do you answer that? Well, it goes back to, okay, so I'm about to think about this one, but my thing is this, is that if, it depends. And I hate saying that, I hate when people say that in the question, but the reality is that I'd have to think about that. But off the top of my head, I would say the answer really lies in who is holding who accountable. So women, I'm a big fan of women holding women accountable. So ladies, that might be a question that you need to ask your girlfriends about what they, you might need to call them out on something. 'Cause it's right. I mean, sexism, racism, both of them are bad.
It's definitely not.
Same thing for the men. We're not skipping accountability there. So yeah, same thing for the men.
Not okay for them to be sexist.
Why is non-blatant racism often exaggerated while blatant sexism is often ignored and made fun of?
Because, like I said, it goes back to the thing where women are always coddled. You know, if a man came out there was, start crying and all this other shit, of course we're gonna get ridiculed. Like, you can't do that as a man. You have a masculinity figure to show, and a female can absolutely do that. But that's not how it should be. Everything should be, on a same playing field. But
falls under that social norm category. I mean, there's movements that support, things like that, but we have very little support on our end. So we just, back to that one word, take it like a man.
I know this, when a man's going through a struggle, people aren't gonna listen to him. When a woman is going through a struggle, the whole world knows.
That's true. But I mean, again, part of that is as men, part of that is our fault. We have to start getting better at conversing about our issues. And it may just be that, the answer is, starting a YouTube channel where we discuss men's issues. But let me be clear about something, okay? We don't need to discuss the problem. That's been overdone. We need to start talking about possible solutions, or we need answers, most importantly.
Speaking of not being man enough, is the modern man not man enough to handle the modern woman? Or is the modern woman too much to handle?
I feel like the modern woman is too much to handle because this day and age, women, they're under the impression that they really don't need a man, so therefore they become that much more independent to where that they're like, okay, well, if you can do it, I can do it. And a lot of things that men were capable of, like women didn't have the rights to work for a long time. And then once we were able to work, okay, well, it's the sense of, okay, if he can do it, I can do it.
When have black women not worked? Let's think about that for a second. You working in the house as a maid while the man is out in the field, still working. So I don't know about that. Okay, let's keep going.
Does a man have the right to define what a woman is?
No.
So then what gives women the right to define what a man is?
They do not.
But they do, don't they?
I mean, they can give their opinion, but they don't have the right to, in my opinion.
But when I was raised, men are supposed to be strong. We were taught that they weren't supposed to really be emotional. They were supposed to support us. So it's...
Who taught you that? Was it a man that taught you that, or was it your mother? And was your mother married to your father?
It's kind of like programming.
Isn't that defining what a man is?
I guess so.
Why do you think that men's mental health is in crisis?
Because of toxic masculinity.
Yeah, they're taught to be strong and not care about things, and so
You know.
Yeah, it's all toxic masculinity. They're
Another buzzword, toxic masculinity, but they don't know what that is. They can't define it. No one can because it's just a buzzword. Doesn't mean anything.
taught to not think about.
On you know what? On second thought, if they talk about toxic femininity, then then we can have that conversation. But I haven't heard anybody talking about that, so that's why I say that toxic masculinity is not a real thing.
Stuff, and that if like they're not, men aren't introspective.
They're also not always willing to talk about it though, even if they want to, and that's
for some women.
Remember what I said earlier in the video about that?
It can be like connecting, you know, like
Yeah,
you like
intimacy.
realize that they have like a soft side, and like we're into that sometimes, you know.
Has a man crying ever gotten a woman wet?
No, no.
Not me. It's not gotten me wet. Like I've been
No, but
concerned.
it makes me, you know, have a lot of empathy.
So here's the thing. It's not a turn on for women, but what it does is it strengthens the bond between the two. Now, should you be going and crying? No, you're not. When men cry, it's an extreme case. And women understand that. As no woman is expecting, like, there are extreme circumstances where women will tell you that it's okay for a guy to have extreme emotions, i.e. crying. Now, the thing you have to be careful about is that men, you need to be gentlemen, you need to be careful who you share that side of you with. If you're not married, then that's a hard decision to make. Because again, in marriage, it's till death do you part, for better or for worse. So if you're going through emotional feelings or emotional struggles, that's who you're supposed to be talking to. Now, again, that speaks to the whole vetting process, because if your woman cannot handle, is not willing to attempt to handle masculine issues, then you do have a major problem. And here's the thing, most women are not. So you gotta find the balance in there to make sure you're going to get what you want out of the relationship. Because if not, then yeah, you got a problem. That she may not be the woman for you, or she may be, and it's just that everything else that she brings to the relationship is worth it. So in that case, then what you need to do is find a group of guys, or to handle your masculine problems, or a therapist, or some licensed professional to help you out there. It's really, like I said, relationships are all about balance. You know, a woman who can help you understand, or is willing to take the time to understand masculine problems, in my book, that ranks high in the sexual marketplace value. But like I said, there's so few women out there who are actually willing to do that. So if you find her, I mean, you definitely, you need to take that in consideration.
What is the difference between the masculinity that women find attractive versus toxic masculinity?
I think masculinity where you find attractive is where you're not thinking about that actively as a man. When you can like,
so good.
yeah, you know what?
You're just masculine naturally. Yes, you're not performing. You're not. Masculinity doesn't mean misogyny.
Why are some people willing to accept that life isn't fair while other people want to change the world?
I feel like people that feel like life isn't fair are people who can't acknowledge their own wrongs. I feel like it's those people that's inexperienced with life and just need someone to blame. I read a really interesting book called The Four Agreements. It was about Told McKnowledge, and it pretty much talked about how people's negative energy reflects on other people ultimately because of themselves. So I feel like life isn't fair. Life is what you make it, and just make it the best, you know. Unfortunately, I grew up all in, you know, I was homeless since I was 3 years old. So for me to be having an interview with a guy like you means a lot to me. And for me to never use my adolescence as an excuse, it just answers the question. Sometimes we gotta step outside of ourselves, really look at ourselves and what we're in, and play chess.
Why do people insist that things will never change when history has proven that things have already changed?
Perspective. It's just everyone's perspective is different. You know, if you're not willing, that's really, literally a big picture issue. You got to be able to see the forest through the trees, and most people aren't willing to do that just because because it takes the focus off them. It'd be hard to get somebody to admit to that on camera, because again, how are you making yourself look?
Ditto with that one, because history, like I said, repeats itself. And even though certain things back in the day has changed, the common denominator is still there.
Why do so many people believe we're living in a male-dominated patriarchy if the standards and selectivity of women is what you believe drives civilization to become better?
Okay, that's the last question. This video is almost done, and we're gonna end it here. That's a great question. You guys sound off in the comments if you want how you would answer that question, and also go subscribe to It's Complicated. Like I said, this brother is out on the streets of Vegas making it happen. It's not easy to interview people. You talk to anybody, as somebody who has worked in an environment like that, you need to talk to a whole lot of people to get one interview. That's why I'm not in the streets out there. So shout out to him. And like and subscribe to this channel too, because we're going to have more content coming. I need you guys to, serious topic here. I need you guys to start liking the video after you see it. If you like the content, like the video, okay? Because we're trying to get pushed in the algorithm. And the reality is that I can't build this channel without you guys' support. So there it is. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. But also, and again, let's pay some homage here, because this brother is working hard. He's putting out these videos at a great pace. So we're going to leave it there. And remember, at the end of the day, relationships are about balance. I think there was a question in there about modern women and men today. Look, you know, I touched a little bit on that. And at the end of the day, because, you know, we talk about marriage rates and divorce rates. Honest to God truth, I think that women are not interested in being traditional anymore. Are there a small percentage of women out there who are traditional? Yeah, there are. And traditional men, if you're a traditional man, then that's who you need to stick with, traditional women. But I think that the majority of women out there are not interested in being traditional. They still like the idea of marriage somewhat. But at the end of the day, we still need each other, both men and women, right? To rebuild a community, we need nuclear families. We've all seen the data. We all know this. So where does that leave us? Well, we're gonna have to make it work. So what I would say is that I think in order for the marriage rates to get better, guys, we need to start doing, gentlemen, we need to start doing more work that's going to discover what the benefits are with being with modern women. I think that's a big problem right now, because if according to YouTube, all men want traditional women, well, there just ain't enough of them to go around. So what does that mean? Well, we need to start making things work. We need to start looking at modern women and see what because we already know what the benefits are and the pros and cons of the traditional women. We need to start looking at women of today and seeing, okay, well, what are the benefits here? Right? And maybe we need to have a video about that, you know? Sound off in the comments if you agree, because look, financially, we don't make enough to survive on our own. That's just what it is. Okay? You want to stay single? Okay, fine. You need to be comfortable working to the day you die. You need to be comfortable with not being able to pass a legacy on to the next generation. You need to be comfortable with leaving your kids in a worse situation than when you were growing up. I'm sorry, but I'm not cool with that. So my purpose is to make the next generation better. I've got 2 kids, and yeah, they're going to grow up into I need to put them in an environment to where they're going to be better off than I was. Just my thoughts. But look, we're going to leave it here because this video is going on a little long and I'm starting to ramble. So I'm going to say goes to the next time. Peace.